Okay, so I really butchered this last time I came and talked about it. So yeah, this is take number 2. I was relatively emotional going through all of that. There's just been emotional times in my life, so I've taken time to cool down and figure out exactly what I'm going to say. So to start off, I am Aaron Klein. So today I'm actually just I'm not gonna bother with whatever extra topics I wanted to cover from like all the extra stuff I was just piling on to the last video. That just did not work. So today I'm just gonna cover vaccines and why I am not. I'm just gonna recover this information, but it's going to be a little bit more concise. It's vaccines and why I am not taking it and why I will be withdrawing from IU for the upcoming semester. So, to start with, vaccines. I'll just give a general overview of how they work. The Johnson & Johnson one uses a I'm going to put this correctly. Uses a virus vector and puts that into your cells. It's basically what would be put into your cells from a virus, sort of, but it's been modified specifically to only print up spike proteins, so that way your body can recognize those and attack those, so that way you can attack the virus, right? That is a step before mRNA. This is like the DNA sequence before it, and it uses it uses your cell's mechanisms to go to mRNA and then to protein. And the reason why is because why it works is because the reason why they would choose to do this method is because, one, it's mostly for storage and shipping. DNA is much more structurally sound and has a lot more integrity than RNA does, just outright. It is cool that we're able to use RNA, but the DNA is a lot better. RNA, they have to keep frozen, or else it'll start corroding on its own because of light, radiation, because of just in general, in the presence of water. If it's not super well protected, RNA has this tendency to do a reaction where it will ligate. It will have the phosphate group and the sugar base. Yeah, it will just cut off because the phosphate group and the sugar bind together instead and create a bond instead of continuing the phosphate chain. So that's why the RNA has to be kept frozen, so that way it can't have any energy to do that, and it can't have any, it just won't have energy to do those reactions, right? So the mRNA, also the DNA, because it is more integral, will will last longer and it'll make the mRNA from it for a longer time. So that's why you only need one dose. The mRNA vaccines are short period. It'll make it for as long as it can, and that's it. Cells have to spend a lot more effort into degrading the DNA to get it out of the system, but plus side is that means you only need the one dose. The mRNA is super easy for cells to denigrate and destroy. That's why you need 2 doses. And really that's more to solidify in the immune response the second time around. I'm probably mistaken, but I think the first time around is the mRNA, then the second time around is spike proteins, so that way your body has an immune response to it, right? Making sure you have an immune response. A lot of people should feel bad getting that because your body is having the immune response that it should. You should feel terrible, especially if you would normally feel terrible if you had gotten COVID. For the Johnson & Johnson virus vector method, you won't feel bad, but the issue is I have no idea why. They might know why, but if they do, they haven't released the information yet. For the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there is clotting. That's probably an immune response. It's just because it's in the muscle. There's probably it probably has something to do with the proteins hitting your bloodstream, and it will take like a day or two for this to be an issue, which is why it takes roughly a day or several hours before there's clotting issues. But it's probably an immune response that's hitting the blood. The reason for the other vaccines, for Pfizer and Moderna, is it's also an immune response. It's an inflammatory response and it's hitting the heart, so that's a bad sign. I have no idea why. I have not worked on these. Clearly I don't know the research. They have been working on vaccines like these for the past 18 years, okay? They started doing research back in 2002. So let's start with that. This is the other topic I wanted to cover. I'll be bringing a lot of facts to support my opinion. This will just be a lead-in to why I am not taking the vaccine. So to start off with, it has been proven that not only our government, but actors in our government and people that support those actors, especially Dr. Fauci, let's be clear, have sent money to China in support of gain-of-function research. Let's also be clear about this. It might have been before Donald Trump, but definitely during Donald Trump, it was established that gain-of-function research was to be determined to be creating, as part of the process in creating bioweapons. So when China leaked this, I'll say China just in general because it came out of China. When China leaked this, they released a bioweapon onto the world. By definition, the world should be at war right now, okay? And they should be at war with us too. Like, we should both be getting our asses kicked right now because we helped facilitate China in gain-of-function research. What America should have done immediately was round up every politician and every nonprofit that gave money to this gain-of-function research, strip them of all their value, and sent them to prison. No. This is a war crime, so they should have been sent to the Geneva Convention, found guilty, and sent to an international prison. That should have been the start. That means all the companies, anyone that signed off on any company that donated money to this, their CEOs should be sent there too. That means China, and let's just be clear, I mean absolutely China, because every research facility, every company has an arm of the Chinese Communist Party in it. That means the Chinese Communist Party should all be sentenced they should all be found guilty of war crimes. They leaked a bioweapon on the world, okay? Now, how do I feel about this? Very disappointed. And even more so, China knew they were responsible because they were silencing their own doctors for them proving that this was a gain-of-function virus. So let's branch off from there. I'm just getting my ideas wrapped up in this. Like, I'm trying to verbalize them. So, first off, that means we have war criminals running our government. Great. I mean, we've already known that, right? Like, since Obama, we've been bombing people without actually declaring war on them. Our government's been run by war criminals for a long time. China has been run by war criminals for a long time, and no one's went over there and kicked them out of power, right? Thank God the Soviet Union collapsed on its own. China has not, and that's because they integrated capitalism into their communist society. It's like, we should have long ago held China in contempt. Like, no, not in contempt. We should have arrested the leaders for war crimes against their own people back when they started killing their own people. If you want to blame anyone right now, it should be the leaders of all the countries on the planet for saying that China is committing war crimes against their own people, right? They are raping and pillaging and trafficking Uyghur Muslims. That's a start. Recently, of course, the coronavirus, as I just expressed. The list goes on, but clearly there are bad actors in high-ranking positions. Like, China was really obvious, right? But it's sad that our own country is run by war criminals. So let's move past that and let's just explain why I am not taking the vaccine. So first of all, we have now 1 year of research. Like, you see where this is going. It's not even been a year since the vaccines have been released. Since the vaccines have been released to the general public, I'd say probably 6 months of research on the long-term effects of vaccines in mass. I'm saying before it was smaller amounts of people getting vaccinated. We were doing animal trials at most. Then we just started releasing it to humans very quickly. We ramped that up very quickly. People were getting that done within 3 months. From the moment they started human trials to the moment they got it out was like 3 months or something like that, and that was very quick. So first of all, I do not trust these vaccines at all. Secondly, the companies that have made these vaccines, because of Trump, yes, I'm saying this, Trump, you made a stupid choice. The companies have all been found in malfeasance in the past for serious issues. Johnson & Johnson, with their baby powder, in fact, got found that it had, what was it? Anyways, they knew that their baby powder was causing cancer, right? Like, the list goes on. Like, stuff that we were using for years was found to be contaminated and just, or the companies knew for a long time were causing illnesses. Just period. These companies have been found guilty of malfeasance in the past because they were trying to exploit the system to make as much money as possible. I'll get to those kinds of statements on a later video when I talk about economics again, because I've got more ideas on that. I'm like better verbalized ideas now. That's the first thing. When Trump said you will not be held accountable for any damages done to the populace because we are rushing this vaccine, that was the first major issue. The second major issue is we did not know how people were going to react immediately when they got the vaccines. We still don't know any long-term issues. So the next issue is our government is pushing that people get vaccines. Recently, it was I think it was in Columbus, Ohio. There was a judge that has been starting to order people get their vaccines. That's where you know you've gone way too far, and our government is way overreaching its bounds. There was an issue, I don't know how long ago, but there were judges that were ordering men to no longer procreate, and the Supreme Court found that it was unconstitutional to do so. So similar issue, right? It's unlawful to force people to have medical procedures or to order them, stuff like that, right? Our government, which again I just said has been run by war criminals, and is specifically involved in the COVID-19 virus. Our government has been, not only our government, but our media and now our universities also have all been pushing for us to get vaccines. And in fact, our universities are now ordering vaccines. A lot of them are. A lot of the liberal ones, mind you. So there's a little bit of leeway there for the more conservative ones. Like, for example, Purdue is not requiring it, but they encourage it. And if you aren't vaccinated, wear a mask, right? That's reasonable. But besides that, the vaccine that has not been tested for long-term damages, was just rushed out into the public. There's a lot of reasons to ask if this is. I'm not saying safe and the only reason why our FDA can say safe is because they are only looking at immediate effects. And I say immediate considering the flu vaccine, which I'm completely recommending still, and every doctor would, has been tested for 50. No, it's been out for longer than that. What's been going around has been the Spanish flu since World War II, so the 40s. So it's been 80 years. I'll cut it short and say 70. The flu vaccine's been out for 70 years. It has been deemed safe, right? So currently, a vaccine that's been out for 7 months versus 70 years, there's no way we should call it safe. By definition, we are saying safe, but they should at least say in the short-term effects that we have seen so far, it has been safe for people to take for this short period of time. The FDA should not recommend that people take it. They should say, take this at your own risk. Talk to your doctor first. Our government, all throughout our government, should be saying, talk to your doctor first, see if you are eligible for this vaccine due to medical conditions, and take into account that this has only been out for 6 months, right? So, and that's not what's being pushed. Our media, our government, our universities are all saying, go get this vaccine. Now, that is scary all on its own. It'd be one thing if everyone was just saying, go talk to your doctor, see if this is a good thing. Not advertising it like our government and our media and have been literally pushing advertisements, go get your vaccine. I see one about once a week when I'm watching television from Indiana saying, go get your vaccine, this is safe. And I'm saying, whoa. This is BS. It may be safe in the short term, but no one has looked at the long-term effects because we haven't been around that long. We should be testing it for at least several years and having follow-up appointments before. Most, just for an example, most cancer treatments take about 10 years to get out if they are pushed through fast. There have been a few that have taken less because they have found very, very good results. Treatment was 70%, it was effective for 70% of patients, and this was a melanoma treatment that I heard about in my freshman year of university. There was a melanoma treatment that came out, that when it first came out, it was the first 10 people they tested it with, 8 out of 10 of them were having better treatment than the standard of care. So they moved on to 100. It was 75. That's still amazing. Then they moved on to 10,000, and that was 72, 7.2 thousand. So something like that. But that still took years, and that was rushed through in 3. But those were for cancer patients, right? These are people that need treatment to fight for their lives. We were talking about it's not life or death. COVID is not life or death for a lot of people in my age range, right? I'm going to point towards me. In my age range, I know I'm obese, but I'm healthy besides all the extra weight, right? There's a lot of other health issues that usually obese people have that just stack. But for the most part, people in my age range that do not have health issues, like I don't have health issues other than the extra weight, right? Those are the people who are fair weight, under 50, it'll be like a common cold to them for the most part, right? At the worst, it may be on par with someone who's like in their 70s at worst, and then they still have a very high chance of surviving. So why is our government talking to 60% of our population and saying, you need to go out and get this vaccine, which we have not tested to be very safe, and you're safer, like realistically, in my opinion, you are probably safer to go out and get COVID than you are to suffer the consequences of getting a vaccine, which could have worse adverse side effects, right? I'm saying even though you are guaranteed to have some issues with COVID, that's like 2-3 weeks. You lose your taste for a while. You might have some brain fog while you're in it. Some people just don't recover from that. Basically, you know what the treatment is for that is, right? You take zinc supplements, and you just take supplements and power through it. You get vitamin C, vitamin D. So go out, get some sun, take your supplements. You will recover. Get healthy. If you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, you drink nonstop, or even, for that matter, just if you consistently drink, I'm saying like a beer a week or something like that, if you start cutting back on all the poisons that are in this world, I will even include high fructose corn syrup. So if you stop drinking pop, if you start doing these things to get healthy, you will survive COVID. We have a massive health crisis of obesity and all these people addicted to substances in the US. And I'll do that in like 2 videos, because remember, my next one is supposed to be a sermon. So the real treatment is for all of us younger people just to get healthy and stay healthy and just survive COVID. And we will have natural immunity because of that. There are people like my younger brother who have autoimmune conditions who need to get vaccinated if the autoimmune condition isn't like my brother probably shouldn't have gotten vaccinated, but he's doing fine now. We'll see long-term effects, what could come up, because of course we haven't done long-term readings, like long-term data collection. He probably should get vaccinated, but I was worried because he also has his condition is autoimmune and auto-inflammatory, so I was worried. He's had myocarditis in the past. He had pericarditis. His peritoneum, like the fluid sac around his heart, was inflamed, so that was a big issue. That's what happened when he was first diagnosed. So I was worried when I heard those issues. Thankfully, he's okay, but I'm still concerned with the vaccine as is. Anyways, I see it as though if I get COVID, I will hunker down for 2 weeks. I'll tell my boss, hey, I've gotten this. I tested positive. I'm going to hunker down for 2 weeks. So be it, right? Make sure to spray down that's just how it is. I'm not working right now. I'm going to be very soon. I'm prepping because I know my family's just not moving fast enough, and I just don't care. Sorry. Yeah. That was the sun. Lovely. Anyways, so my reasoning behind why I'm not getting the vaccine is 1, I don't trust the government. 2, I don't trust the vaccines and the pharmaceutical corporations. And 3, I didn't even discuss this. The universities are acting like totalitarian regimes. And as a rule of thumb, you do not bend your knee to totalitarian regimes. I'm talking bosses who are I'm talking like in a workplace, if you have a boss that's punishing you for being excellent or thinking on your own, you probably want to look for an escape strategy. And you need to write a report to their boss as to why you are leaving. File it with HR and copy their boss, right? So you do not bend the knee to totalitarian regimes because that incentivizes the way they work. And then the way they work, when it hits a large enough scale, causes those companies to collapse or causes those governments or universities. I do not bend the knee to totalitarian regimes because it is for the better good that I set an example that I don't do it and that they don't gain me in their following, right? So our universities are also pushing this vaccine, which doesn't have a whole lot of research into it, like just application research, right? That just builds right into the next point, which I'll get into shortly. So yeah, just in general, I'm not going to get this vaccine because it's like I do not trust it currently. This is my opinion. I am not a doctor. However, the doctors usually refer to the FDA, and the FDA plays politics. So if you ever want to trust a doctor, go to one don't go to a MD unless they are in a bigger, this is hard. You want an MD you trust that knows your medical history. That's the first major step. Go to your personal medical doctor that knows your medical history and talk to them about if you should consider getting the vaccine. That's one. Number two, you also want to look at virologists and immunologists and see what they're saying. And you want to look at a lot of them and get a general consensus. I'm saying get a consensus from those who are left-leaning, those who are, and those who are centrist or right-leaning, but also pay attention to those who come on TV. If they are coming on TV, I'm saying you might put their opinion later down the list of opinions you seek out. I'm saying this because they will ask for people who support their opinion to come out and say things that they support, right? And the issue could be that these doctors could be part of the radical left that are pushing terrible agendas. Okay, so furthermore, why I am going to unenroll from IU. And it sucks because I'd like to go get my degree, right? It's an utter disappointment, but it is what it is. So to start with, like I said, they are pushing the vaccine. So that's the first thing. They are acting like a totalitarian regime, which is expected. Like, I'm expecting that by now, knowing what they've been pushing. If you take a step back from that, what they've been pushing and how it's being applied kind of shows why, one, I shouldn't be going into why they are a totalitarian regime. So they have been pushing critical theory, either race, gender, stuff like that. I'm going to call their collective teachings critical theory, and I wouldn't call it teachings. I would call it indoctrination. There we go. It's not teaching when you build the mechanics of your belief into how you're teaching things. So the example a lot of people would be saying is Johnny is a white middle-aged male who gets pulled over 3 times every 10 years by police officers, while Marco is a middle-aged black man that gets pulled over 50 times every 10 years, right? Something like that. Find the percentage of how often they get pulled over, except, they're just pushing that kind of stuff. They're teaching it in, this is the stuff that gets taught in your public schools, and it's being taught in that way in universities. I know this. I know how to separate wheat from chaff, but I should not be giving my money to these places, right? I'm not able to go up to Purdue and spend that kind of money to get a degree from them, not to mention they won't accept half the stuff from IU. This is the trap I went into long ago when I went to IU the first time. I should not have supported them then. I was still young, wet behind the ears, I didn't even get baptized, so I was already in my freshman year in university. Stuff like that. I hadn't really built my belief system thoroughly yet. I wasn't radical. Let's just be clear. I wasn't super immersed. I didn't go through a lot of the religious changes a lot of people do go through before they get baptized or when they get baptized. There had just been, I had an understanding of what I need to do, and I figured I'd just build that as I went. So the reason why I am the way I am today is because I took my time and went methodically through it. A lot of people who end up leaving the church were radically changed. I shouldn't be using radically, but that is sort of the instance of what happens. They went through a quick transformation in psyche because they had to accept a lot of things very quickly. There were a lot of things that I started to accept, but I understood this is where I need to start, and I have to make my journey with God. I have to walk with God. This is how I'm going to do it. I basically took sort of an Abrahamic journey to get to the place where I'm at now, and I am walking forward. And I still have a lot more to go, right? My journey is nowhere near done. But anyways, the universities are preaching a radical idea in the way they're teaching. I should not support that, and I will not support that. The vaccine mandate was an eye-opener, hey, universities should not be forcing people to get a medical procedure that people still haven't talked to their doctors about yet. And it shouldn't be forced. It's not even FDA approved. It is approved through an emergency authorization, okay? That means the FDA is fully aware that these vaccines were not tested and they should not have the full approval. They are just there for an emergency case like this one. That means doctors should not be recommending this. They should lay out all the risks and all the benefits, and people should make an educated decision. A doctor should say, this is a treatment option. Please decide for yourself, and I will suggest whether or not it is safe for you to get it, right? That's the way this should be going about. And the FDA should be, if the FDA wanted to do this correctly, they should have said, this is safe, this is our numbers, the vaccine took this long to get approved, if you like this vaccine, you may recommend it. We will not recommend it to you. We will just give you the data. That is the way scientists think, okay? That is not the way our government is thinking. That is not the way our universities are thinking, and that's not the way our media is thinking. Just as a scientist, that is the exact way it's supposed to be approached. This is a vaccine. These are the benefits. These are some of the risks. These are the outcomes, the standard outcomes. You will get some variance based off the standard. You might get the standard. These are the numbers. Would you like this vaccine? You have a lot of time to think about it. You can schedule this at your own rate, right? That's the way this is supposed to be handled. That is not the way our government is handling it. That's not the way our medical professionals are handling it. A lot of our, small town medical professionals will handle it that way. There are a lot of, our media doctors, I will say like that, our entire establishment is pushing this vaccine. It is not healthy. So let's just be clear. our government, which is run by war criminals, our media, which has been known to be gaslighting us for who knows how long, but most definitely recently, people can tell they have been lying to us, and our universities, which have been radicalized. Yes, I will say radicalized, because they are using a radical doctrine which has been proven to have failed. Absolutely 0% of the people, like literally absolutely 0% of the people who have been pushing this critical theory doctrine have read Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. 0% of them. If they read it, they would say this fails on its face, because he explains how it works and how it fails. Okay? I am quoting that. So I am not going to go to university this coming year. It will probably be several years, and it might not even be through IU. Hopefully things start changing. Hopefully that system collapses. Now here's the plus. I'm going to give you a small update on my health situation, like I started to do so earlier. I have been going into intermittent fasting for the past, 3 months. I have dropped down to 280 pounds. I started at like 295, so that's a whole 15-pound drop. That's good. It's slowed down, but I'm going to change the pace. I'm going to start skipping days. I'm going to go every other day when I build up to that. I found that I can get used to hunger pains. It's not, I don't even feel pain anymore. I just know when I'm hungry, and I just work past it, right? So I'm going to be okay when shit hits the fan if we don't have food. Not only because I've been training for it, like I've been unintentionally training for it, but I've also been trying to lose the weight, right? I wish I was able to plant a vegetable garden this year. That might not happen. Probably won't happen, because I still don't have a house to move into down in Columbus. Update, I will probably be withdrawing membership from Columbus at the end of the month, because my family has not found a house, and I will be moving up here full time. I'll be getting a part-time job, so that way I am not brain dead, so I can work on my book. I'm expecting my book, when it is done, to be world class. It is world class. Just based on the way I've seen other people write, this is a lot better than what I've read from a lot of other books. It is a little less intense in action, but it's not supposed to be an action book. It is supposed to be a book so chock full of lessons to learn and symbolism that the story, even though the story is great on its own, it's also supposed to teach people how to live their lives. So, like subversively. I guess that's a word, right? I'm giving people all the tools they need while they're reading the book. And I'm making the characters really interesting, because they have to be the way they are in order to function within the story. I hope there's not a cult that grows out of this book. But so be it if there is. I will not. Part of the book is there will be at least one or two added religions into some old ones that I'll be writing about, like ones I've come up with, sort of. You'll see. But I will not be, I will never write those specifically out, those religious views, because they are there to point other things out. They are a means to an end. They are a good means to a good end, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. I want people to grow, and this book will help them do that. And it is a good book. It is not meant for children, though. So yeah, the goal is to make a lot of money off this book. Probably at least like a year's salary if I were to be, university professor. No, it'd probably be like 2 years salary, because in Indiana you only make like $60,000, $80,000 as a university professor. That is not equivalent to how much time I've put into it. But now that I have put that time into it, it'll be easier for me to write the next 2 books. It will be a 3-book series. The first book is probably going to be a front-loaded series with a lot of information in the first book, and then there will be more in the second and third. It is the reason why it's not meant for teens or younger is because it is graphic. Graphic in the sense that, like, I don't go explicitly into the killing, but no, actually I do. Okay, the book is graphic, so that's the issue. It should be for people of at least 16, preferably 18 plus, to be reading the books. But it's also important that the people reading the book have an adult understanding of things. Children would not be able to pick up on the adult parts of the book. I may eventually one day go back and write a children's version for the series. It'd probably be split up into smaller books, and I would pick out individual stories that children should learn from. I will probably, yeah, that's like 2 big updates. The reason why I'm talking about this now is because I'm about 60% through the book. Last time there was it's been about, a month since I went back and decided what I had was bad. Not bad, it just wasn't where I wanted it to be. It wasn't going the direction I wanted it to be, and I changed the direction. But in doing so, I decided to also change the name. I changed the beginning. I changed a whole lot of things because it was better the way I wrote it when I changed it. So yeah, thank you for your time. Did I say anything different compared to last time? Let's see. I made some blunders last time that I'm going to address. I think the first major one that I made was comparing this to abortion. Let's just be clear, abortion is a tragedy. That is the wrong thing to compare it to. However, I think a better thing to compare it to would be having like having an appendectomy. That's like something benign I can use. It'd be like university asking if you've had an appendectomy, and then if you haven't, go get it, right? That is a serious medical procedure. Or like, that's just a start. This is a very just because we have a lot of data short term does not mean we have a lot of data long term. By definition, the coronavirus is a bioweapon. The Chinese released it upon the world like they failed to contain it. America is partially responsible, and America is at least producing the vaccines. Like, that's a good start. That should be the government owning the patent and distributing it throughout the world, and so that would be repercussions for our part of the pandemic we created, right? China should have to help pay for that, and in exchange, like, there should be no benefits reaped from the production of this vaccine. Like, that should be the way it should be done, and those who were responsible for giving money should be put in prison, right? That's the way this should have been treated. That's not how this was treated. So, okay, so if you have any disagreements with me, feel free to drop them in the comment. I'd much rather have some sort of disagreement here, so that way we can have an adult conversation, right? Like I said, the way this should have been handled was, the vaccine should have been handled was the FDA and CDC told all doctors, these are the lab results. This is what we've collected. This is the time frame we've collected over. You bring this up with your patients and ask and allow them to schedule appointments. That's the complete opposite of how we've handled it and I don't trust it. Yeah, thank you for your time, guys. I felt like I did much better at explaining where I was going with this. Yeah. So for the next video, I will be releasing a lecture. I guess it will be a lecture. I hope it will be a bit longer than what I tried doing it the first time, and it was on the same sitting. So that's an issue, right? I was emotional. I was all over the place. That just did not work. So this time I will have a much stronger way of describing what I am thinking when I release the next video. And I will literally just create a playlist that says these are, I'll call them lectures, but they're sermons, or sermons, but they're lectures, something like that. They're somewhere in between, because I'm the only one talking, and I'm not talking to a specific crowd of people. I'm just giving out information, right? So yeah, thank you for your time. If you want to support the channel, if you want to support me, that's just share those. I want a lot of views on the sermons, because in the foreseeable future, that will be my next leap, right? I said this in the last video, I'll say this again. My next plan is get a part-time job. I'll probably be doing it through Dollar General, just because it'll be low brain power to work for 4 hours a day, or 8, 4, you get the idea. I'll have some days on or off, but then I'll also be able to spend time working on my book. I'll be able to work on sermons. I'll be able to relax. I've cut out a lot of video games. I will probably pretty soon just put my speedrunning channel. I'll probably put that here, so that way people can see the stuff I kind of do for fun. I've cut out a lot of video games, so since I've started doing these talks, and since I've started doing and since I've started studying the Bible more and working on myself, and that's a good thing, right? I think I'm down to I don't know, 5 or 6 I play right now currently. I'm talking console stuff, not online stuff. And one of them I speedrun a lot. I will say the other one I speedrun, but I haven't even posted my old time yet. Whatever, that's just not even gonna get posted. Anyways, I've cut out a lot of video gaming so I can go and move on towards the next part of my life. I will probably eventually cut down to only the game I speedrun consistently, the 2 games, yeah, because they're both really closely related. And if you know one pretty well, a lot of the information transfers over, and I'll just work on that too, because I've also been routing stuff, right? So yeah, those are just a lot of updates. Thank you for your time. This video, share it. People should understand this information. A lot of this has been out in the news, even though they did their best to blow past it. Remember, the coronavirus is a war crime, because it is a bioweapon that got released onto the rest of the world. This should have been World War III. The issue is, a lot of governments don't want to go into a hot war, so we've been doing an internet war, an information war, for a long time. The U.S. is losing a lot of its information wars, which is disappointing, because we are one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. The issue is, all of our wealth is in the people that are pushing the information they want to push, right? That's one of the major issues, and a lot of them are accepting a lot of money from China. So I'll just leave it there. You can just figure out what I was about to say. Yeah, thank you for your time. Peace, guys.